And hello, everyone, and welcome into an episode of Matt Sports Talk. And hope you're having a great day. And hard to believe that basketball season is coming up, and for really all the teams, both for the men and the women, it is roughly about a week away now. So I guess time flies when you're having fun, right? So, and So as of course, I recorded a video a couple weeks ago talking about my official season predictions, where teams were going to finish, that sort of thing, and we actually have that the Crossroads League actually today released their official 2025/2026 season prediction. So I wanted to talk about that and do some comparison to my predictions that I made last month. So without further ado, let's dive in. Now for this video specifically, I'm going to be talking about the men's side. So I'm going to record a separate video talking about the women's side. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. And by the way, I just want to mention thank you so much for subscribing, for you subscribing to my YouTube channel, and pardon me. And I really, really appreciate that. And please keep subscribing, and please keep sharing my channel link to your friends, your family, and please keep on subscribing. My goal is to get to 500 subscribers by the end of, well, I'm hoping, of course, it'd be awesome if I could get to 500 subscribers before the new year starts. But my goal is by the season's end, by the end of the regular season, pardon me, coming up, I believe it's February 21st is the last day of the regular season. That's my goal. So by that time, let's get to 500. My goal is to have 500 subscribers by that time. So roughly we have 4 months, roughly 4 months from this coming week to get to that 500 subscriber mark. So please keep on subscribing so you're first notified whenever I upload new episodes. So we're going to talk first about the men's side. And on the men's side, Indiana Wesleyan was projected to be the number 1 seed in the Crossroads League for the second straight season, I might add. Now, last year they were projected first, but they dealt with a ton of injuries and ended up finishing in a tie for 5th with St. Francis. Of course, IWU got that common opponent tiebreaker last year because of upsetting Bethel at home, and St. Francis got swept by Bethel. So that's why the Wildcats got that tiebreaker. Now, pardon me. Now, looking at everything this year, the Wildcats once again are projected to finish first. Now, the biggest thing for them is they're going to need everybody to stay healthy. And, of course, that's obviously going to be a big emphasis to every single team in the Crossroads League, I'm sure. And now, before I get down to where all the teams were projected to finish compared to where I had them projected, I wanted to talk first about some preseason all-league players that got voted on, and that is for the, and again, this is on the men's side, the preseason all-league: Cademan Bontrager for Indiana Wesleyan, Ian Roush for Grace, Luke Brown for Indiana Wesleyan, Alonis Pasilius, I'm not sure, I don't think I'm pronouncing that name right, so I apologize. He plays for Bethel. Then you had Travis Grayson, Spring Arbor, Chaz Harvey for Taylor, Dylan Moles for Marion, Gage Sefton for Grace, Aiden Franks with Marion, and Crew Gibson for Indiana Wesleyan. Now, for Crew Gibson, he is actually transferring to IWU this year from Indiana Tech, and he actually led the Warriors in scoring last year, averaging 15 points a game, and he also was able to achieve, I believe it was 9 rebounds a game, and had quite a few double-doubles. So obviously excited to see how he'll contribute to the Wildcat offense this year down low in the post. Pardon me. And so now looking at the full Crossroads League season prediction, they have Indiana Wesleyan as the 1 seed, Grace the 2 seed, Bethel the 3, Spring Arbor the 4, Marion the 5, Taylor the 6, Huntington the 7, Mount Vernon Nazarene the 8, St. Francis 9th, and Goshen finishing 10th. And of course, St. Francis and Goshen, according to the Crossroads League, will not make the Crossroads League tournament, as you know, or maybe you don't know if you're brand new to basketball and or my channel. But the top 8 seeds in each individual, well, not in each individual, but the top 8 seeds in the Crossroads, or not seeds, but the top 8 teams in the Crossroads League, the top 8 teams in the Crossroads League make the league tournament. And St. Francis and Goshen, again, this is on the men's side, Goshen and St. Francis not projected to make the tournament. Now, looking at those projections compared to my projections that in my video that I recorded last month, Goshen, the Crossroads League, has projected to finish 10th. That's exactly where I had the Maple Leafs projected. Now, this is one of the big ones. Well, not really, but the league has St. Francis finishing 9th. I have St. Francis finishing 8th. So really, St. Francis and Goshen, they're projected to finish right about where I had them projected. St. Francis finishing in that 9th spot. Now, Mount Vernon Nazarene, the Crossroads League, has finishing 8th, and I believe in my prediction video, I'm pretty sure I had Mount Vernon Nazarene finishing 6th, because I'm pretty sure I had Mount Vernon 6th, Taylor 7th, St. Francis 8th, and then Marion and Goshen 9th and 10th respectively in my prediction last month. So comparing that, Mount Vernon Nazarene 8th according to the Crossroads League, I had them finishing 6th, so roughly pretty close. And they have Taylor finishing 6th. I had Taylor finishing 7th. So literally Taylor, Mount Vernon, St. Francis, Goshen, roughly pretty much exactly where I had them projected to be, minus flip-flopping those teams in those few spots. Now, the biggest one, well, actually, two of the biggest ones is Huntington, that the Crossroads League has finishing 7th. I have Huntington finishing 3rd. Now, I know that Huntington lost a lot of key players from last year. They lost Max Gizzy, as well as Landon Jordan, Lane Sparks, and they also lost, they lost a lot of key players, not just those, but they also, pardon me, they also lost Drew Goodline as well. And now, I can understand why the league has Huntington finishing 7th. I know head coach Jared Jauch has a lot of talent. He has a lot of size, quite a few transfers. So, I guess you could argue that they are a very young team compared to the last few years. But, in my personal opinion, and obviously these are just projections, so take all this with a grain of salt. But I just don't think that Huntington is going to finish that far down. I think they'll at least be in the top 4. Now, again, I could be wrong. And like I just mentioned a second ago, these are just projections. It's everybody's opinion. It's not set in stone. Because you remember in the 2019/20 season, the league had Grace finishing 7th. Actually, I think it was 7th or 8th, and they ended up finishing 3rd. So obviously, it could conceivably happen where Huntington gets up in that number 3 or 4 spot, which is where I think they'll finish. So again, that's one of the biggest takeaways, so to speak, from where the league has Huntington projected to finish compared to where I have them projected. So that is one major difference. The other major team is Marion. Now, for head coach Pat Knight and his team, they had a lot of injuries last year. They finished 9th, and they were actually, I believe, projected 5th last year. Now, obviously, for the Knights, they have a lot of talent this year. They're bringing back quite a few key players as well. And, of course, for them, I have them projected 9th, but compared to the league, being projected 5th. So really, Marion and Huntington, these are the two teams that, in my personal opinion, I guess you could say opinion, but in my personal opinion and projection, Marion and Huntington, these are the two teams that really are the biggest takeaway compared to where I have them projected as opposed to where the league has them projected. But I could understand Marion being projected 5th. I can see that, honestly. Now, they have Spring Arbor projected 4th. I have Spring Arbor, I believe I have them projected 5th, and I have Bethel 4th. So, again, Bethel, Spring Arbor, these are two teams that are roughly projected exactly where I have them. The league has Spring Arbor 4th. Pardon me, I have Spring Arbor 5th, so at least I'm pretty sure. Roughly about in that number 4 spot, which is where I had them projected. They have Bethel finishing 3rd. I have Huntington finishing 3rd, so that's the other biggest takeaway. But again, Bethel, Spring Arbor, they're definitely a top 4, top 5 seed team. I can definitely see that. And then the top 2 teams, IWU and Grace. For me, I can see why the Wildcats are projected first, especially having Rocco Moratoli, or pardon me, man, I got a little tongue-tied there. Rocco Moratori is one of the biggest ones for the Wildcats, 7'3". Now, of course, I mentioned this before. The last time the Wildcats had a player 7 foot or taller, you have to go back to the Seth Maxwell era. And in all of those years, the Wildcats finished no worse than 3rd. So, again, I can see why the Wildcats are projected first and the Lancers second. Now, for the Lancers, head coach Scott Moore and company, again, this is a team that is very, very young this year. They had a lot of kids graduate. They've had quite a few transfer over the last couple of years. So, I can see why the Lancers are projected second as opposed to the Wildcats. But to me, these are the two teams that I have as well projected in the top 2, just in reverse order. I have the Lancers first, then the Wildcats second. And the reason for that is because the Lancers, their shortest player is 6'3", and that's the shortest. So, and again, in my personal opinion, I just think that the Lancers have the slight advantage for finishing in that number 1 spot compared to the Wildcats. Again, these are just projections. Take them with a grain of salt. Things can change. But I just think that the Lancers are the slight favorite, in my personal opinion, for being that number 1 seed, and then the Wildcats being that number 2 seed. So it's going to be really, really fun to see how it all transpires. That is for sure. And that is your look at the comparing all these projections. Now, I'm going to record a separate video coming up here in just a minute talking about the women's side, because there is a lot to dive into with that. So make sure that you stay tuned. And by the way, I'm gonna put both of these videos under Matt's Sports Talk Season 2 playlist. So when I upload these 2 videos, I'm gonna put them in that playlist so that you easily can find them. And if you did enjoy this video, or if it was very helpful to you, please either leave me a comment down below, and please keep subscribing to my channel. Any one of those options helps me out greatly, and I truly appreciate any feedback that you provide me. And again, I really, really appreciate the new subscribers, and please, let's keep that trend going. So thanks so much for watching this video. Have a great rest of your day. God bless.